It's the Brad and John Show.
This is the Brad and John Show, and disregard what you heard just a minute if you're listening live. The Brad and John Show for January 10th, 2025, Trump sentencing days. This is so bizarre, and this is the B block. Okay, you ready for this, John?
I am. You know what I love is that we know that it has a happy ending because you're here with us, Brad.
Yes. Okay, we're having some issues with a particular piece of equipment at the Westplex 107 transmitter site, okay? Now, what's interesting about this is the Westplex 107 transmitter site used to be in the middle of nowhere out in St. Charles County. Now it's completely surrounded by subdivisions, and you literally go down a subdivision street. At the end of the subdivision street, there's a gate, and you drive for about a quarter mile on this little gravel road, okay? And it's sort of twisty. You go over a culvert where if you misjudge the shoulders, you go down into a ditch. It's sort of sketchy, okay? So yesterday, it drops off the air, and I have to go out and reset it manually. And I went through the snow, didn't have any problem. Matter of fact, my little SUV, my $300 SUV that I bought years ago, which was literally sitting in someone's driveway for 2 years dead, I brought it back to life during the COVID thing, and I drive it all the time. And it's great. It's got selectable four-wheel drive because it gets decent gas mileage, and you can manually kick in. It's front-wheel drive most of the time, rear-wheel drive to kick in the thing. Anyway, I go out there yesterday to reset the modem. In, out, 20 minutes, no problem. I go out there yesterday at about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Same thing. Modem jams up, off the air. I drive back in there, and I already have tire tracks. I'm thinking to myself, this is going to be easy. I already cut through the snow. What I didn't realize was the snow is a little bit different yesterday. Because you know why the snow was a little bit different yesterday, John?
No, I don't know why.
Because the sun came out yesterday, and it changed the composition of the snow. The snow that we had on Sunday and Monday, since it was very cold, was a very powdery snow, which is for the most part much easier to go through in a four-wheel drive, okay? But yesterday, when the sun came out, it melted some of the snow, and it became a little bit more slushy, a.k.a. slippery. So I get in, no problem. Well, I did have some problems going in. Reset the modem, came back out, and about literally 30 feet from the gate, my SUV slides sideways, and I hit a tree. I'm going
no.
I don't believe this is happening to me. I mean, I can walk 10 steps and be back on the pavement, okay? So I have to get something to cut the tree down. So I can't name the person who picked me up and drove me back to the studio so I could pick up my Sawzall because they weren't supposed to be out driving, and I won't say they were drunk. I'm just saying they were under doctor's orders not to be driving, but they drove anyway. So they drove me back out there, and I get out with my Sawzall, and I cut the tree down, which by this point in time is wedged against the car. And once again, this is the same car that's a 2002 model, which has never been in an accident until was it November when I backed this car into my other car, which had never been in an accident before. So now I have a crunched rear bumper from me smashing into my other car. Now I have a dented door on the outside. So I cut down the tree and I start to get out. Oh man, I'm going to make it. Guess what? I don't. I slide sideways and I'm going like, I don't believe this. And I'm stuck. So I'm like there, okay, I'm trying to get out. I'm trying to dig myself out. And a guy drives up and he says in a very stern voice, "Hey, what are you doing in there?" Because I'm behind a locked security gate, which is unlocked at the time, and nobody ever sees anybody go in there. Rarely. The transmitter side is unattended. For the most part, there's nobody. There'll be days when nobody will show up there. So I said, "I'm the guy on the tower." This is right at Bryan and Feisey for you people out there in O'Fallon. People know exactly where we're talking about when I mention that. Big tower. And then he turns nice. And I said, "I'm one of the guys from the radio station. I was working on the thing." So he comes back and he says, "Man, you're really stuck." And I go, "Yeah." And I go, "Well, I'll tell you what. Let me go back and get my van and I'll pull you out." And I go, "Okay." And he says, "Don't think I'm weird or anything like that." He didn't say something. He said that in those exact words. But he intimated what was he doing driving around the neighborhood? Because once again, I'm at the end of a dead-end street. There's no traffic. He tells me he's hunting coyotes. And what's interesting about this is, at this same transmitter site, I guess about 2 or 3 years ago, I was attacked by a wild turkey. Now, what's bizarre about this is, when you stand at the transmitter site, if you stood out in the parking lot of the transmitter and you did a 360 It's nothing but houses. We're not talking like out in the middle of Warren County, someplace like that. We're talking suburbia in O'Fallon, right? But there is a bunch of wild turkeys out there, and some of them are aggressive. And I told him the story. He said, oh, yeah, I've had those turkeys come back at my car all the time. They are very aggressive turkeys. You ever had an aggressive turkey, John?
I haven't. No, not at all.
Matter of fact, if you think I'm kidding, I could not get in my truck because this turkey came after me. I finally had to dial 911, which on the internet I put up a video. And when I originally told the story, nobody believed me until I put the video up. People go like, oh my God, I've never seen anything like this. And it got to the point where I would walk to the back of the truck and the turkey would come to the front of the truck, and I would walk up to the door to try to put my key in the door, and the turkey would come and attack me. So I'd run back. I'm going like, what am I, get rabies or something like that? Anyway, long story short, he tells me there's coyotes out there, which I have seen. So he's saying that some of their neighbors are afraid for their dogs because the coyotes apparently are hungry this time of the year because with the snow and things like that, they're going after any kind of prey. So he's hunting coyotes. Long story made short, he comes back with his big work truck. He's a refrigeration guy. And he spends an hour and a half working to get me out. I had a couple tow straps, he had a tow strap, and we finally got the car out. And I'm like, I'm cold. I'm wet. At one point in time, I'm laying on the ground in the snow trying to put the tow hooks in and stuff like that. So once again, Ryan, Lehn, I think he pronounces it, I would say Len, but he says I think it's Lean, Ryan Lean. Him and his family run K&N Commercial Refrigeration. Great guy. And he doesn't do too much home HVAC, but if you're a business person, especially if you do like a convenience store, liquor stores that has walk-in coolers and things like that, and even small industrial, if you have like, rooftop unit, aircon, HVAC, you know what I'm talking about if you have one of those. This is the guy to call, 314-556-7265. A mountain of a man. I'm not a small guy. He makes me look small. I'm 6'2". He's bigger than me. He's meaner than me. He's stronger than me. He's smarter than me because he's not in the broadcasting business. He's in HVAC. So thank you very much, Ryan. There are good people in the world. And when I tried to grease his palms, so to speak, a little bit, he refused. And I told him, look, take this money, enjoy a nice meal, and it's on me. So anyway, thank you very much, Ryan. And the crazy
That's remarkable, Brad. I'm so glad that he helped you.
Well, the worst part of the story is I get in my car, I drive down the road out in the subdivision, I get on 5Z Road, and guess what? The station goes back off the air again.
You're kidding. Now, hold on. I checked Westplex 107.1 yesterday, and it was back on the air.
Well, once again, John, this was like 7 o'clock last night. Once again, you did hear on the air. This didn't go off till like 2 in the afternoon. And then I got it rebooted about 3. I spent 4 or 5 hours out there. So I didn't get out of the transmitter site till 7:30, 7:45. And as I'm driving down 5Z Road, it drops off the air. And okay, I'm done. It's off the air right now, right this very moment. So,
well, I caught it in that window where it was back up, Brad. I was very happy for you. I didn't annoy you by texting you. But yeah, I was happy to hear it up. I heard Sabrina Carpenter.
Okay, couple things to talk about. I know you don't watch The View, right?
No, I do not. I'm a heterosexual man.
Did you see the article about Glenn Close on The View?
Oh, no. What did she do on there?
Okay.
Did she boil a bunny?
Well, here I go again. I'm going to walk right into this trap. I'm going to say, John, have you ever watched the J.D. Vance movie, the Hillbilly Elegy movie? Did you ever see that movie?
I did not. No, I thought it was a book.
Well, it was. It was a movie, and it was done by Ron Howard. You know who Ron Howard is, right?
Yeah, of course.
And he's one of the Hollywood lefties, okay? Glenn Close was on there talking about how nice J.D. Vance's family was, how nice they were, and she, to really depict her portrayal. Do you know the story? You know, she played J.D. Vance's grandmother, who essentially raised him. Okay, and she did an amazing job. You would know it was Glenn Close. The makeup was amazing. She was amazing. She's just an incredible actress. And she praised the J.D. Vance family because they spent so much time with the crew and with her and trying to get the nuances of all the people involved and her daughter, you know, who was J.D. Vance's mother and blah, 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 blah. Okay. Then they go after her because of the fact that she has legitimized J.D. Vance.
Oh no! Like he's a person and a real human being.
Right. And they are essentially, they didn't, I don't know if they actually came out and say it, but they're pointing the finger at Glenn Close and the movie of putting J.D. Vance into the White House. That's or not.
No, that's what did it. Glenn Close's depiction and her supportive comments elected Donald Trump president.
Well, not necessarily Donald Trump, but they made, essentially, if you know the whole crazy story about it, when the book came out, J.D. Vance, nobody really knew who the hell J.D. Vance was, and that sort of propelled him into the mainstream because the book was very successful, and then the movie came along, and the movie's pretty good. Quite honestly, the movie is very depressing. I mean, normally I don't like to watch depressing movies like that. I like action movies. And you kid with me. Matter of fact, Shelley used to kid with me all the time. I like rom-coms. I do like rom-coms. My favorite movie of all time is a movie called Grosse Point Blank, which I know you'll never watch, John. Matter of fact, John, don't ever watch Grosse Point Blank.
Guess what? I'm queuing it up. It's a snow day today, Brad.
You will hate that movie.
Definitely going to watch it then. Is it appropriate for kids to watch?
No. It's a dark comedy with John Cusack and Minnie Driver. And it's really good. It's one of my Des Moines movies, where, and if I told you this, when I used to run my company up in Des Moines, I used to stay in a hotel there 3 nights a week, and especially in the winter. Once again, after about 8 o'clock at night, there ain't nothing to do in Des Moines. So my usual thing was I would go down, I stay in the same hotel all the time, little cheapy Super 8, because I was, I was even on the company expense account, but I was staying in a Super 8. And I would drive about a mile down the street to the theater when I was bored, and I go, eeny, meeny, miny, mo. I would just do that on the list of all the movies. And I had never heard of this movie before. I walk in and saw the movie and thought, oh my God, that's such a great movie.
So your point about the movie was?
Well, it's a rom-com. But it's a dark comedy rom-com. You have to go watch the thing. You have to just go watch it. It wasn't, but the going back to the Glenn Close thing, essentially they're grilling her for taking the role of J.D. Vance's grandmother, and I think she got an Academy Award or Academy Award nomination. I mean, she should have gotten the world's best actress award for it, because if you would put the pictures side by side and you hear Glenn Close, this very attractive, well-spoken woman, and then you see who she played in the movie, it's like, no, that's not the same person. It's just really one of these things where, Adam Sandler is always Adam Sandler. Burt Reynolds was always Burt Reynolds. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
Harrison Ford is always Harrison Ford, but a real actress has a range, and that was it. So once again, The View, ladies, I mean, listen to Jim Carville. Listen to him. Listen to what he says. Get with the flow. Find out something good to talk about, okay? Second thing, every time I'm listening to NPR and I hear this promo, and I probably heard it over the month or 2 months, I've probably heard it half a dozen times, I think about you, okay? And why do I think about you? I think about corporate propaganda, okay? Now,
nice, I love it.
Okay, here's how it starts out. It's one of the NPR anchors, and she's got this very sincere voice, and she comes on and she says, I can't remember her name. I think she's Chinese or something. I'm Lin Hua or whatever her name is, and every single week, there's 2 local newspapers that go out of business. And she goes in this whole thing about, and it's getting harder for people to become educated and find out about what's going on in their community. And that's why you should be listening right here to NPR. I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, I don't believe.
Oh, good God.
It's like, yes. So if the what's the paper in Missouri, not the Columbia paper, not the Mizzou paper, but what is the Tribune? Is that the newspaper? In Columbia, in Como.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're a Gannett paper, yeah.
So if the Tribune goes out of business, you're going to listen to KBIA and find out everything you need to know, right? And think about that for a minute, okay?
Exactly.
Here's a perfect example. The Post-Dispatch goes out of business. Matter of fact, the irony of, think about this for a minute. We haven't talked about this. This is the first week when the Post-Dispatch is not being printed locally, okay? Think about what a screw-up mess this is. I think they switched over on Monday where they're printing the paper in Columbia at the Gannett Press in Columbia. Isn't that where they're printing it now?
You're right. Yeah, they're printing it in Columbia. You're right.
Okay. Can you imagine how many people had the newspaper on their front lawn on Monday morning if they still subscribed to it? Or how many news boxes had the newspaper in it? Because of the fact that I don't think there are too many trucks that made it from Columbia to St. Louis on time. And this entire week it's been crazy. Okay, so...
And the Post-Dispatch, real quick, the Post-Dispatch came out too. I don't know if you saw this in the story, Brad. And they said, if you're a sports fan, don't expect the paper, if you still subscribe to the print edition, don't expect the paper to have Cardinal scores or Blues scores in it, or any scores from evening games. Sorry, but you should really just read it online.
Isn't that sort of like the Ameren people saying, hey, if you want reliable power, which is not what we're giving you right now, you're going to have to pay more for that reliable power. It's like, well, why would I want to pay more for unreliable? Or, anyway. Okay, so here's my example. The Post-Dispatch goes out of business today, okay? And I take that Louise Chin or whatever her name was from NPR and her eyes. Well, every single day it becomes a news desert out there when 2 papers go out of business. Okay, let me look at NPR, NPR. Story number 1, a recycling company wants to have a ripple effect on glass recycling rates in St. Louis. Story number 2, 210-year-old old log house finds new home in historic Sappington Park. Story number 3, Curtis Watkins asks federal court to free him from prison, citing revelations about a St. Louis cop. Story number 4, St. Louis City County prepare for more snow. Story number 5, Jennifer Welch steps down as president and CEO of Planned Parenthood of Illinois. John, has that given you all the news you need to know?
Yeah, it's given me everything. Now, Brad, you forgot. I don't know if it's still up on their website, but this morning when I went to St. Louis Public Radio, so that's circa 5:05, maybe 5:10, they had a flash alert at the top that their signal coming out of Rolla would not be that their signal was off the air because of snow, Brad. Now, it makes me think, what kind of radio operator lets snow get on a satellite? You know what I'm saying, Brad? Like, shouldn't they have somebody standing out there with umbrellas or shields? Like, what kind of a radio operator lets snow get on their stuff?
John, I'm looking at it right now. KMST-FM in Rolla is experiencing an outage due to icing on the antenna. That's not necessarily, that's what happens is, and here's the interesting thing about that is, which means they don't have radomes, they don't have heaters on their antennas. This is a problem because of the fact that when your antenna is up there, this is the actual antenna way up in the tower, if it gets covered with snow, and a radome is literally a sort of like it sounds, a radiation dome. It's usually made out of fiberglass, and what it does is it clamps around the antenna so that ice cannot build up on the actual metal part of the antenna, which radiates the signal. So most people, once again, most people, and if you're the state of Missouri, where if you need, if I need a screwdriver, I go to Harbor Freight and get one. If the engineer at KWMU needs a new screwdriver, he goes to Neiman Marcus and buys the jewel-encrusted screwdriver. You get what I'm saying?
Absolutely, yeah. Or maybe Bloomingdale's.
Right. That's the difference. They shouldn't have. I read this crazy, weird article about they got a new transmitter for a new tower, a new transmitter for the TV station in Columbia. And I thought to myself, only with government money. It was to the point where...
Yeah. There's no... And hey... You got to spend all the money you got before Trump comes in. You know what I'm saying?
And not only that, the thing that got me was right up the highway from us in Quincy, Illinois, you have 2 of the big guns in broadcast transmitters, broadcast electronics and gates. And what did they buy? They bought a transmitter made in Europe. Nothing like supporting your local economy, right? Nothing like
very nice.
Spending money in the United States.
Well, then again, they don't have guys driving around subdivisions shooting coyotes that can help old radio guys pull their truck out. Brad, what happened to the tree? Did you have a proper burial for the tree?
You want me to go back and take a picture of it for you?
No, I'd rather think that it's decomposing gently now.
My Sawzall make quick work of it. And you know what? Between my Sawzall and my not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, but 5 steel chainsaws. Yes, I have 5 steel chainsaws. None of my saws have ever met a tree that they didn't like. Let me put it that way, okay? For you tree huggers out there. Okay,